Prior to the beginning of the 100-Year Darkness in 7000 BBY, a group of Jedi began drifting away from their counterparts as they began experimenting with and learning the ways of the dark side of the Force. The more these Dark Jedi learned, they saw that they could use their newfound powers to bend life itself and create monstrosities out of ordinary life forms, a practice which greatly disturbed their Jedi brethren. In the words of Ajunta Pall, leader of these Dark Jedi, "So envious were the Jedi Knights of our ability to transform creatures into improved manifestations, they made it their ongoing duty to hunt us, the Dark Jedi, wherever we attempted to experiment and practice our knowledge." Set on keeping their new powers, these Dark Jedi attempted to convince the others not to fear the powers of the dark side, but accept and embrace them. The Jedi refused, and thus would begin a terrible war. A war that, as the name suggests, would last for 100 years. During the war, the Dark Jedi used terrible creatures created by their dark powers to fight against their one-time Jedi brothers and sisters. Horrible beasts and leviathans aided in the fight and slew Jedi as they were meant to do. The great and terrible war went on for far too long with traumatic costs. A century of fighting. The Dark Jedi, led by Ajunta Pall, made a final stand on a mining world known as Korbos. The Darksiders gave the battle everything they had, using all of their power at their disposal. They created more and more monsters to help them in their last stand, but in the end, the Jedi Order used orbital bombardment and destroyed the surface of the planet from above, destroying a majority of the Dark Jedi and their creations. By the end of the long and terrible war, the casualties were high, but instead of executing the Dark Jedi, the Jedi Order would instead decide to banish them, exiling them into uncharted space to pay for their sins. In the words of Sorza Sen, one of the leaders of these Dark Jedi, "The Jedi, so confident in their triumph, did not execute us. With lightsaber points at our backs, they marched us aboard the galleon that would take us into exile, outside of the Republic's borders." 12 remaining Dark Jedi leaders would be cast into the galaxy, not knowing the fate that awaited them. Drifting through space, these exiles were guided through the nebula by Sorza Sen, who for years had heard rumors of a kingdom of Sith. The 12 exiles would arrive on Korriban, the home world of the original Sith species. Red-skinned humanoids, powerful in the dark side themselves, who were perplexed by the former Jedi's arrival. Impressed and intrigued by the exiles' own powers as well as their technology, the King of the Sith welcomed them to their world. This would come back to haunt him. The King's own shadow hand conspired with the exiles, and this led to the King himself being murdered. The 12 exiles convinced the rest of the Sith that they were gods and eventually came to rule Korriban and its people. Ajunta Pall, one of the exiled leaders, would actually become the first Dark Lord of the Sith. At one point in time, against Ajunta Pall's orders, a group of exiles boarded their ship which they had arrived to Korriban on in the first place, with the new Sith knowledge they had now acquired, seeking revenge on the Jedi who bested them in the prior war. They would, however, once again be defeated. Though the term Sith originally referred to the red-skinned humanoid Sith species, years of associating with and interbreeding led to the first Sith Empire led by the Dark Lord Ajunta Pall. Years later, after serving the Sith, Ajunta Pall would pass away and his spirit would persist inside of his tomb thanks to the secrets of Sith alchemy he had learned prior. After being dead for 1,000 years, the Jedi Knight Revan would come into Ajunta Pall's tomb to retrieve his sword, and it's here that he would have an encounter with the Sith spirit. Revan would come to find out that the spirit of the Sith Lord had come to regret the things that he did in his past. The war, his sins, the deaths he had caused. Revan was able to convince Ajunta Pall to let go and return to the light. After centuries, the former Sith spirit was able to let go and finally find peace, becoming one with the Force. The Sith Order would persist for centuries, long after the exiles were dead and gone, with new faces such as the Lord Khan-led Brotherhood of Darkness, Darth Bane and his rule of two, and of course the culmination of it all with Sidious and Vader. Though after the rule of two line came to an end, the Sith would continue after this, with not only the eventual resurrection of Darth Sidious, but also with names such as Darth Caedus, Jacen Solo, the son of Han and Leia and grandson of Anakin Skywalker, and also Darth Krayt, far, far into the future. But this is how the Sith really came to be, thanks to a group of one-time Jedi who turned from their old ways and established the first Sith Empire. Thanks so much for watching, and may the Force be with you.